Hey everyone, this is Olay from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Good afternoon again. This is another episode of Edu-Steps powered by Laddering Your Success. I am your host, Olay here with my good friend Festus. Festus, how you doing today?
I'm great, man. I'm great. It's a beautiful day outside. Just enjoying the after church breakfast sandwich. You know what I'm saying? I started making my own McGriddles. So the McGriddles that they used to sell at McDonald's. I don't know if they still sell them because I haven't eaten at McDonald's in. I ate at McDonald's once during the pandemic because they were giving some away free for hospital workers.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, other than that, so I make my own McGriddles at home. I take 2 Eggos, you know what I'm saying? And then just do the egg and the sauce. so yeah.
That's solid, bro. Hey, that's, we're learning and understanding more and more how important it is to kind of do things at home if you can. So that's super key, man. I just meal prep yesterday, legit meal prep. With like the containers, put everything in the containers, got 5 of them for lunch every day.
Yeah.
Just made a whole bunch. My parents got a whole bunch of turnips, and I never had turnips before.
Yeah.
So I had cooked some turnips and sweet potatoes, some cabbage, ground turkey, rice, caramelized some onions. So it does feel good. You do feel like, all right, man, I'm ready to handle the week.
Yeah.
I kind of got this stuff taken care of, so it's good, man. It's always a good sign whenever we're investing in our assets and not as much into our liabilities. With that being said, let's go to our good friend Jamar Crawford. Crawford, how you doing?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Joke, but
how you guys doing?
Doing good. So a couple of weeks ago, me and Crawford did like this run, and when we were going back, we went to get some seafood, man. Shout out to Genevieve's, man. We had some great boiled seafood there. And we was talking, and Crawford was just like, Hill's over here. Hill's got his house. He's doing this, man. You over here, you got your Ramsey plan, going strong. I'm over here spending all my money on liabilities. And it's had me rolling, man, because he was just like, everyone out here spending money on, take care of their assets. I'm over here investing in liabilities. And I was like, man, don't trip. I am right there with you, man. But it's just always funny because, Crawford's shoe game is, I don't have anyone in my circle that has better shoes than Crawford. So, I'll be like, man, them are nice. And he's like, don't do that, man. Don't talk about it. These are liabilities. Don't look. So it's awesome when he says that. Oh man. But speaking of liabilities, whenever we go out, Daniel Hill, the ambassador. How you doing, Hill?
I'm good, bro. I'm good over here struggling right now, man, and hungry. Then your boy talking about his own food making skills. I'm over there and starving.
Is how you driving around looking for something to eat, man?
Man, you already know, man. Sunday after church, I'm trying to find everything, man. But everything's like closed. I was like, man, hold on, man. This is not Easter. They need to open back up.
Hill looks like a football player. He's got his head on a swivel. That head is just turning. He's looking all which ways. I love it, man. So real quick, want to jump in. Today we're going to be talking about college versus trade schools. We're going to be talking about college versus trade schools. And real quick, I want to just pull this up here so we can talk about this, man, because we just did a little bit of research, as I was getting ready, and I saw this story and I thought it was awesome, and I really want to go over it. Part of the reason why is because it sounds like LYS here, and so I'm just going to read this real quick, and it's called "The Stigma of Choosing Trade School Over College," and this is from The Atlantic. I'm going to read through it pretty fast, so forgive me. Cohen Reisman knew from a young age that he and his brothers were expected to attend college and obtain a high-level degree. As a radiologist, a profession that requires 12 years of schooling, his father made clear what he wanted for his boys. Keep your grades up, get into a good college, get a good degree, as Reisman recalls it. Of the 4 Reisman children, one brother has followed this path so far, going to school for dentistry. Reisman attempted to meet this expectation as well. He enrolled in college after graduating from high school. With his good grades, he got into West Virginia University, but he began his freshman year with dread. He had spent his summers in high school working for his pastor at a custom cabinetry company. He looked forward each year to honing his woodworking skills and to enjoying creating beautiful things. School did not excite him in the same way. After his first year of college, he decided not to return. He says pursuing custom woodworking as his lifelong trade was disappointing to his father, but Reisman stood firm in his decision and became a cabinet maker. He says his father is now proud and supportive, but breaking with family expectations in order to pursue his passion was a difficult choice for Reisman, one that many young people are facing in this changing job market. Traditional college enrollment rates in the United States have risen this century from 13.2 million students enrolled in 2000 to 16.9 million students in 2016. This is an increase of 28%, according to the National Center for Education Statistics. Meanwhile, trade school enrollment has also risen from 9.6 million students in 1999 to 16 million in 2014. That's a nice growth. This resurgence came after a decline in vocational education in the 1980s and 90s. That dip created a shortage of skilled workers and tradespeople. Many jobs now require specialized training in technology that bachelor's programs are usually too broad to address, leading to more last-mile type vocational education programs after the completion of a degree. Programs such as Galvanize aim to teach specific software and coding skills. Always Hired offers a tech sales boot camp to graduates. The manufacturing infrastructure and transportation fields are all expected to grow in the coming years, and many of those jobs likely won't require a 4-year degree. This shift in the job and education markets can leave parents feeling unsure about the career path their children choose to pursue. Lack of knowledge and misconceptions about the trades can lead parents to steer their kids away from these programs, when vocational training might be a surer path to a stable job. I'm gonna stop there, but highly recommended that article, that piece right there. And like I said before I started, the story of that young man was the story of so many people that we help, that we talk to, that we seek. This is why we are here. And it really, really got me, because it's your world. A lot of your world is created from your identity is from your parents and your family, and expectations, right? There was an expectation for me, for example, that I just knew I couldn't just go home and sit down and do nothing. I couldn't just, collect a paycheck. I had to go do something. That was just an expectation. Oh, thank you so much. That was just an expectation. So just thinking about that and how hard it is for you to go against all of that and say, this is what I'm going to do, Dad. I'm going to do this woodworking. And let me tell you something. If you've been listening to this podcast, if you've been listening to Edu-Steps, you have heard me on several occasions talk about me working on my parents' kitchen, how much fun I had, the process and everything. Cabinetry is a wonderful thing to get into. But just like it also said in that article, because of misconceptions and preconceived notions that we have about certain things, we're not as quick to get into those things. So I just want to have this discussion with all of us. Let's go back in time to high school. What could have been done to prevent a lot of this? This young man was in the article, it said he would go with his pastor to work on cabinets, and he looked forward to it, right? And so what could have been done to help that young man find his purpose? We're thankful that he found it, but for the kid who's just watching this for the first time, who's hearing about this, like, yeah, I don't have that thing, right? What's the main thing we can pull out from that? Because that example is so prevalent, I think, and with a lot of the kids these days. So I'm gonna leave that open for anyone.
Well, man, I think what you're bringing up, number one, thank you for bringing up this topic. I think it's so many different layers to it. One layer is what the parents are looking at, and then another layer is what's actually happening in education, and then another layer is what's happening with jobs and careers, right? And so, again, to me, I'm always a look at history, right? And so when you go back and you look at history, how did colleges form in the first place? Why did they form in the first place? When you look at it, the first degrees were in medicine, in theology, in law, right? Those were like, and then in astronomy as well, in astronomy. Then eventually philosophy and so on and so forth got added on because people were really trying to understand the world that we live in. And so now it's sad because there's so much research and information out there. It's almost like we're saturated with information now because of technology. And it's to a point of oversaturation. So now the information is no longer in a building or in a particular institution. It's free, readily available. I think there's and I'll have to go back and look at it, and I'll probably look at it during our next break. But I think it's called People U. It's a free college, free online college. The problem is the accreditation, just being transparent, right? So now there's so much information. Is going to this institution necessary? And so to me, I think institutions are trying to pivot, but because when you've had a monopoly for so long, it's really hard to turn around and just hand off power to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what a lot of institutions are struggling with now is like, okay, they've been the holders of information. They've been the holders of access to data, to jobs, all those things for so long. What do they do now? So those are just some of my initial thoughts. And then I think there's still some thoughts about Black and brown people right now. You know what I mean? And all of those things. I'll talk about that later, but I want to hear what the other guys got to say.
For me, this is such a good topic. For me, from my experience, I feel as though that for our generation, from our parents, the narrative was in general, in order to be successful, you must go to college. And I feel like that was never explained to the point of detail as the information that laddering your success is given out, which is your purpose and things of that nature. It's just this broad narrative. Hey, if you want to be successful, you have to go to school and get an education to get a degree. Well, following that narrative and understanding how the real world works and becoming more educated on the topic, through the experience, a degree does not guarantee success. Right. And that was the false narrative that was pushed on our generation, which is why you have so many people that go to college and have successfully completed college and do not have a career within the field of their degree. Right. And now we have adults in a situation to where, well, dang, I done went to school for however long and I have this degree and I'm not even employed within that field because, again, the narrative was just pushed on us in order to be successful, go to college. And for me, you can ask the question, okay, well, what does success look like? What does success mean? And this is me coming from a man. That narrative was, pressed down from my father. Hey, as a man, it's your responsibility as an adult to be able to provide and protect your family. And in order to do that, you need to get a job so that you can provide the core essentials, right? You need to make enough to be able to do that. And so, but there's no map onto, well, how do I do that? What are these other resources besides just going to college? And it's like just going to college. And so as a senior in high school now, I have to make this major decision. Okay, if I go to college, what do I major in? At the time I was graduating so early. I was so young. I was like 16. graduating high school, having to make all these decisions and going to college and this and this and that. And, you know, that's loans on top of loans that I'm piling up while I'm trying to figure it out, because again, I didn't have access to the information that laddering your success is trying to give the world, right? Which is you can go to a community college and save money and all these other tools and tips that you guys are giving out. So, you know, I'm going to school trying to figure this out, not knowing what I want to major in, wasting money because I'm paying for these courses, although I had good academics, right? I'm trying to figure this stuff out. And so even today, as a middle-aged man, it's like, well, dang, okay, I do have a degree in this field. Now I feel obligated. You know, I do have a job in my degree field. Now I feel obligated to stay in this field because I never pursued a certification in any trade. I never developed a skill to where I can set myself up in the future if I want to work for myself, you know, and I can provide for my family working for myself, as well as going to college. You think at some point public school and this, it will teach you about money, but it doesn't, right? Because going back to, in order to be successful, you have to go to college. Well, what does that success mean? Going back to that, to be able as a man to provide for your family, the core essentials and things of that nature. Well, I don't necessarily have to have a degree to do that. I can know the function of money and how wealth is built, which is not trading your time for money, which is another misconception that is pushed on us from a public school education standpoint, because all it does is prepare us with the bare minimum information needed to just be workers and work for somebody else, not to be entrepreneurs. And so it's like, I'm realizing this as a middle-aged man that, oh man, this information was not handed down from the gatekeepers of this knowledge.
Well,
Said all that to say, you know, that's my experience. And now I feel like I'm trying to backtrack to get this information to learn about money and what it is instead of the actual physical dollar, trying to understand how wealth is generated. And so now I'm feeling like I'm trying to backtrack and learn this information as a middle-aged man to now try to implement it now to prepare myself for that and set myself up for that, while still trying to stay in this 9-to-5 job that I went to school for umpteenth years for, and that I'm still in school for, just so I can feel like I didn't waste my time and money. All right, I'm sorry. I'm done being on my soapbox.
you
Please don't apologize. Please do
get
not
it off your
apologize.
chest, brother. Get it off your chest.
Please do not apologize.
Hey,
Please do not
hey, but
apologize.
no, I was gonna say, bro, you aging yourself, bro. You're not middle aged, bro. Bro, middle age is like 45 or 50. Like, dude, you're young, bro.
Well, I was going from the biblical standpoint, because we was only promised 70 years. I'm 35. You know, if you live anytime plus 70, that's a blessing. You know, I must have been doing something right. So I was going from that standpoint, you know.
Okay. That's what's up. No, I wanted to piggyback too on something that you said, is like, you know, and I was gonna say, I was gonna talk about this earlier. So, you know, one of the things we don't really look at historically is how Blacks and minorities being held out of college led to a certain narrative regarding college. And so it's really interesting because back in the day, Blacks and minorities were held out of college. You just basically did whatever skill you could find yourself doing. And so sometimes, you know, back when they had manufacturing in the United States, you'd get a manufacturing job. It's like, hey, I'm going to go work at the plant. I'm going to go work at the mill. I'm going to go work wherever they're manufacturing, putting something together at, or handling the raw materials. And I'm gonna work this job. And you get your overtime over there. They almost never had enough people. Well, since a lot of those jobs left and everybody pushed college, well, part of the issue is people were told at that time, you can't go because you're Black, and that meant you're dumb, and what have you. And I know some people are like, no, that was not the truth, or that's it's just a controversial topic to talk about. But that's why I love tech. I love just being able to use information online. So
why are you doing it? Like I'm sitting here thinking about, what we're talking about. And so my father, he is a millionaire and I have no access to that money, right? Whatsoever. So his wealth does not reflect anything with me because of, we don't have that type of relationship or whatever. But the thing, how I said that narrative was given to me by him and like go to college, the craziest thing, he has so many skills and trades to where that's why he has the wealth that he has, because he has all these trades and none of that was passed down to me. The knowledge of how to do these certain things wasn't, because he was believing in a narrative. Well, if my son goes to college, he will be able to do better than me. Well, since he has so many skills, such as he can fix cars, he can do plumbing, he can fix the washing machines and dryers and all of these different things. Like, every time I talk to this man, he knows how to do all these different skills. And the way he make money was he'll be able to go to different houses and fix things and people pay him. Besides him having a 9-to-5 job, which he does, this man has no degree. This man has no degree. All he has is skills, right? But in his mind, he believes that, man, he's working so hard. If my son goes to college, he doesn't have to work as hard as I do, right? But the reason he has the wealth that he has is because of the amount of knowledge he has, not intellect or academics, but how to do things that people in life will need and will always need, which is how he's able to make his money and add to his wealth with his actual job.
That's deep and that's rich, because I definitely think we're definitely gonna have to, as we talk more about trade school, have to talk about some of the benefits of college and just the academia, and then how to blend the two. I think, because I think that's where we're at now, is really trying to blend information. But I wanted to just kind of talk real quick about this UT timeline, right? And so at some point I'm gonna need to save it, because UT, even though people talk about Texas and so racist and this, I enjoy the fact that they're at least willing to admit their shortcomings, right? So they have a timeline where you could see exactly how UT was integrated, right? So you have 1855, the first African American applied to UT and was denied based off of his skin color. So then the next time was 1939. So almost 55 years later, right? He applied, right? And also, I believe, was rejected, right? And that was, he got in, they accepted him, but then when they got there, seeing he was Black, they was like, nah, you gotta go, buddy, right? So this is how sad it is, right? So then the Hazel Scott played her piano there. And then I believe after that, this was the first African-American to actually get into four-year college. The Sweat versus Painter decision came after Plessy versus Ferguson, right? And this is the interesting thing on why Blacks were let into UT. They weren't let in for undergrad, because that's why HBCUs end up becoming colleges. A lot of people don't know this, but HBCUs were formed as elementary schools or basic schools for freed slaves, right? So Tuskegee became the first one, and then they started to develop from there. Hey, look, we're just trying to get an education, and they were doing the whole separate but equal. Well, there was no master's program, there was no doctorate programs at that time, and so that's what actually allowed the first African American into UT particularly. But in the college was like, hey, there's no master's programs for us, so you got to take take us in these master's programs. And so in 1950 was the first African-American. And so I say all that to say, like, even in your situation, Crawford, I'm not trying to speak into your family situation. I don't know it. So I'm not trying to tell you, yo, this is how you should feel or anything like that. But like, you know, how old was your dad in 1950? You know what I'm saying? So the mindset is y'all can't go, y'all can't go, y'all can't go, right? And then one guy gets in 1950. Well, then this guy applied for housing in 1950, but it wasn't until he graduates. That's still 1950. Let me see. I'm trying to find where the undergrad is. The first undergrad. Okay, so Brown.
Wait, you saying undergrad being is that what you're talking about? Sorry.
Yeah. So the first Black undergraduate students weren't allowed to go until 1956, right? So this is like, you know what I mean? This is like civil rights era. So because of that mindset, you know, as we who are millennials are thinking about, yo, what did our parents? Well, this is about the time when they're our age. You know what I'm saying? The late 1950s, 1960s. You know what I'm saying? They're teenagers, early 20s.
Generation. Yeah.
Yeah, the boomers. You know what I'm saying? So for them, it's like, wow, you could actually get in. And most of them couldn't afford it, didn't have no knowledge of it. So you fast forward 20, 30 years, and then it's like, my kid's gonna go. Even if they don't have any knowledge of it whatsoever, right? And so, but now fast forward to today, you got things like this, and thanks Olay for sharing this, but University of the People.
Was this the one you were referring?
Yeah, this is the one I was referencing. Okay. University of the People, where you could get a free degree, right? Tuition free. What's tuition free? You can come on here. They do charge a little bit of money for some of the degrees, but you could basically go free. Now, there's some caveats to this for anybody who's listening to this. If your school is not regionally accredited, you're probably not going to be able to sit for any kind of exams for your professional certification. So let's say, for example, you come over here, you take a business administration course, okay? That's a general course. There's not really that many certifications for business administration. But let's say, for example, you want to be a social worker and you say, hey, I'm going to come over here and take health science and become a social worker. That's probably not going to happen because it's not regionally accredited. So just be mindful of that. But I wanted to share that, and then I'll shut up for a second. Hopefully, I shared something that was helpful.
No, definitely, bro. That timeline was really, really key. Even understanding, you know, I was talking to a good friend and she went to Spelman, and I didn't know. I think I just been watching some documentary. I read about something that Spelman was the middle name or the maiden name of one of the Rockefeller's wives, or something like that. I think Rockefeller, they funded and they started a lot of, well, they started Spelman, but I know that was the foundation of a lot of HBCUs. And that stuff is very important, especially about like the perspectives that our parents had, where historically that was that home mentality. Because even my generation, even our generation, we had that where, oh, I'm gonna go to college, get a degree, and I'm gonna get a job. Like, I literally went into finance because I really didn't have much of a liking, but I just thought financial analyst was a good job to have. I never asked me if I ever worked in my degrees in finance. Asked me if I ever did a finance job. Never did a finance job. Nothing but accounting. But that was the thought process. Oh, you go to school, you get a degree, you get a job, you start working. But that's truly, truly important to understand perspectives. I think that's helpful for us when we start having our own families and start having those talks with our own kids. It's definitely key. Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that even though the cost of college can be daunting, the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook can assist you in realizing your dreams. You can identify and apply for scholarships using the information, advice, and resources in our comprehensive guide. Also, we've provided a template for a successful scholarship essay to help you stand out from the crowd. Don't allow student loan debt to control you. Get your copy of the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook right away to take charge of your destiny. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to that fire conversation. Crawford said something when he was talking the first time, and I want to go back to this article because there's something that talked about it, and I thought it was awesome. College doesn't make sense is the message that many trade schools and apprenticeship programs are using to entice new students. By the way, if you're just joining us, just going over the Atlantic article about why trade schools are so much are popular again, and why more students are going into trade schools. So what specifically doesn't make sense, they claim, is the amount of debt many young Americans take on to chase those coveted bachelor's degrees. There is $1.5 trillion in student debt outstanding as of 2018, according to the Federal Reserve. 4 in 10 adults under the age of 30 have student loan debt, according to the Pew Research Center. Master's and doctorate degrees often lead to even more debt, obviously. Earning more potential does not always offset the cost of these loans, and only 2/3 of those with degrees think that the debt was worth it for the education they received. Vocational and technical education.
Olay, your audio went out. Okay, while he's fixing his audio, Crawford, I know you kind of maybe had some more to say. Did you want to continue on what you were saying?
Yeah. It was just that all of those different aspects that were basically pushed on us, such as go to college, get a degree, but there was really no path or enlightenment on how to do that to where it makes sense for that individual student at that time. It's just, hey, go to college, and what he was getting into within that article with the debt and how it's talking about vocational school is significantly less. It's like, I'm experiencing it now, and just seeing how the benefit of having different skills can aid to an individual's success, whatever that looks like for them. You know what I mean? Because if you have a skill, you will always be able to find work. And I know you was giving some history saying that, Black people weren't able to get those specific type of jobs, but having a skill, you'll always be able to have some kind of work, whether it's to work for yourself or if being an entrepreneur is not for you, you can find a job where their skill is needed. But for me, what I'm realizing is what the most important is out of all of that in order to be successful, whatever that means to each person, is to really understand money. Really understanding money. I think that's really important, and that can drive you making your decision what kind of school you go to, whether I go to, a 4-year college, whether I go to a trade school, whether, hey, I just need this certification to do what I am trying to do. It's understanding how money work, because you can use all of those avenues to understand money, and you can use that to as a resource to fund whatever it is that you aspire to do. So
No, I agree with you 110%. It's like, which is why we're doing what we're doing is, if you understand your purpose, if you understand money, if you understand how to leverage certain skill sets, then you could be successful. And having your own definition of success also is key, because otherwise, it's kind of one of those things where, and again, I don't want to come off like I'm ragging on your dad, but it's like, instead of your dad to be like, yo, what is your definition of success? This is mine. This is my definition. Now I want you to develop your own, because you're going to have to eventually live without me someday. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
Nah, I appreciate you telling it how it is. It's no offense, because I harbor these types of feelings, because it's like, I feel like this is my opinion, us as Black people, our problem is when one person get access to information, we're not passing it on. And he was ignorant in his thinking, and ignorant in the sense of unknowing.
yeah,
Right. So it wasn't intentional. It was, he was trying to, hey, go to college because he wanted the best for me. At the same time, building an empire for himself
Yeah.
which has been proven to work. And I feel like he could have used that knowledge and gave me some of that knowledge to where, hey, son, I do want you to go to college because I want you to do better than me, but you will always have a backup if you know how to do X, Y, and Z.
Well, and this is another catch-22, and we just gonna jump on your dad. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, let's get to it.
but it's like, and see, this is a mindset that parents need to either adapt or break or what have you. Instead of him saying, "I want you to go to college so you could go get a better job," I want you to be better educated so you could take over what we're doing right now, or you could bring that to the family. And
Exactly.
that's a big problem that we have, is the divisiveness and the discord in our families, where it's like, oh, you go and get yours, you go do your thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when you look at families who are really successful, and I think, you know, again, this is something that's understood, and sometimes we hate on them for this. You know what I'm saying? Is we be like, man, look at Rockefeller, look at what they did. Well, somebody in their family made a decision, yo, we going up, and once we go up, we ain't coming back down. And I'm setting it up so it, you know, you would have to be crazy or just deranged to come back down. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
yeah, and again, you know, maybe they did do some evil things. I think some of it was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? But all rich people aren't bad or evil. But at the same time, the flip side of that is a lot of people are mad at rich people for being successful. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, you got to learn from people. You know what I'm saying? And to me, regarding this particular point, is like, you know, me and my wife talk about our kids. You know, we got 2 boys now, and we're talking like, yo, what are we doing for their education? Right now, it's just the basics, building that good foundation. You know what I'm saying? But then at some point, I'm hoping some of the stuff that I'm building, they're gonna either take over. And for me, right now, I'm actually looking at their behaviors and their, you know what I'm saying, their mannerisms. Like, okay, yeah, if he run with it, he gonna go. You know what I'm saying? Like just looking at his mannerism behavior, I'm saying, okay, you know, this one can handle this, bro. And man, I know I'm soapboxing. I'm excited at this point, bro. There is, if you look at, I think it was InvestFest, Social Proof, they were interviewing Dan Cathy from Chick-fil-A. And when they were interviewing him, they were talking about the Cathy family, because Chick-fil-A is one of the largest privately owned corporations in America. And so he was talking about the family, and dude said, right now there are 37 people, it wasn't 37, it was like 47 people. And we just had the something generation. He could tell you every family member, whose cousins is who's having a baby, whatnot. And they were talking about their annual family meetings, in which it's a family reunion, but they're also talking about who's getting what in the business. And then he said this, which was really powerful. He said, you don't get a decision on ownership, but you get a decision on participation. So you could own, but we're just not going to put you CEO just because you own a piece. You might be the office assistant, you know what I'm saying? But you own it, you know what I'm saying? And so to me, that's what I was just like, man, that's so key. That's something that our community really needs to hear, you know? So let me shut up with that.
No, yeah, nah. And I feel like to today's topic, you know, trade school versus, you know, for your college and things of that nature, that's the exact route that my dad went. He did whatever, he got his TWIC card, and it just shows how you can be successful and don't have to go to a 4-year school. And so he got his TWIC card or whatever, and he's been making 6 figures ever since he had a job, because he's been on that same job making 6 figures while having these skills. Like how I told you, he can do mechanic, he can fix things around the house. And so this is all based on a skill. His main job, which he makes 6 figures to this day. Now, mind you, I'm 35. He's been having this job longer than I've been alive, right? So obviously this is why he's a millionaire, and he has knowledge of money. And I'm like, why didn't he give that information to me? And the way he has knowledge of money, because I didn't know this, but I only lived with him for 2 years.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay once again. You know, these days, many families are busy, but want personalized attention. We at Laddering Your Success understand this dilemma and have created a unique approach to help guide you and your child with personal development tools to build a life of purpose. This intimate approach is helpful for those parents that feel the need to have a focused heart-to-heart conversation deciding on the next steps after high school. We provide individual post-secondary planning, virtual customized college and career counseling, and scholarship guidance and planning. Our one-on-one sessions are tailored to each individual student to maximize their potential in the post-secondary realm. With our guidance, your child will be able to make their dreams a reality. Don't wait. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to business on this podcast.
That's however long my parents were married, only for 2 years, and I was 4 when they were married. So I'm witnessing this from 4 probably to 7, right? And so my dad I live with my dad in the middle house. He owned the house on the left and he owned the house on the right, right? And the people in there were his tenants. I never knew this the whole time. He go fixing this and this, and he was investing in real estate, right? Like all of this information that he knows was never passed down to me about money, you know. And he would always get on me, like when he started the session today, he's talking about me spending my money on liabilities. Like my dad would always get on me because I'm buying shoes, and I'm like, how can you get on me? Just like I buy a lot of tennis shoes, he was buying cars. Mind you, I'm young, I'm not catching on that he made X amount of money. Like I'm like, what does he do? I never knew what this man did as a teenager, right? It wasn't until I graduated college where he didn't even tell me. My mom told me because he messed my head up when I graduated. He finally came to that one, and he was like, hey, I'm proud of you, son. You have a choice. You can have this house, or I can pay for your college tuition. It messed me up in my head. Pay for it. Nah, he playing. I went and told my mom, hey, this is what he said. She was like, oh no, your dad has money. I said, wait, what? Like, like, what? Like, no. So now tell me this. I'm thinking we been poor this whole time because we didn't have access to that money. Like we were poor. Like child support, my mother was getting $65 for me and my sister, right? And so I'm like, so if this man had money, why did we grow up the way that we did with no access to any of this man's resources? That blew my mind. And I didn't choose neither. I was like, you know what? It's all right. I'm good. I don't want to set myself up for another disappointment. You know, I just find my way or whatever. But for me, it was the access to the information that he had. Because if that was the case, I probably would have been like, forget going to college. Where you went to go get your toy card? Yeah. let me go do what you do, and make this 6. Because the crazy thing is and I know this as an adult now because I have a better relationship with him just as far as dialogue, right? And it's how he does it. It's like, yo, I could have used that and did something with that money because he works a shift, 12-hour shift, but he only has to work 6 hours of that shift. He only has to work 6 hours of that shift, and he makes $100 an hour. But then you can work all the overtime that you want, which is time and a half. So I said, wait. So you mean to tell me for only 6 hours of work, you can get paid for 12 hours of work and get $150 an hour? Yo, I could do that and go to school, get whatever education you wanted me to get part-time, because it wouldn't matter because I'm making 6 figures. I could take some of that money. You give me the knowledge that you have about investing in real estate or investing in stocks. And I could have been stacking while getting the education, while making the plan for financial freedom to work for myself or have my money work for me instead of trade my time for money.
Bro, we're gonna have to fight your dad.
Bro, like I'm like, yo, this is all based on the skill. This is not going to a 4-year college.
We're gonna have to fight your dad. Well, okay, no, this is definitely in depth. Oh, sorry. Olay, you want to go back to the article real quick? Let's go back to the article, because I definitely think we need to talk some more about how can families share this information to like build generational wealth. Most def, we got to talk about it.
Well, real quick to what you said, Crawford, we say this all the time. Everyone, a lot of people think generational wealth is tangible. A lot of people think generational wealth is like you giving money. But Crawford, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of generational wealth is knowledge, it's behavior, it's attitudes. A lot of generational wealth is a lot of that stuff that has to be seen and taught and learned by seeing someone do it in person. So definitely understand where you're coming from there. So I wanted to quickly go back because there were a couple of really good things here. Let me just see if I can find it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so part of it says, this stability is appealing to Marsha Landis, who lives with her cabinet maker husband and 2 children outside of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Landis has a 4-year degree from a liberal arts college, and when she met her husband while living in Washington, D.C., she found his profession to be a refreshing change from the typical men she met in the Capitol Hill dating scene. Now, of course, Hill, Crawford, and I, we know about this. We recently went to D.C. We didn't really see a lot, but we saw a lot, but we really didn't see a lot of like how people, interact and stuff. But she said he could work with his hands, create, she says. He wasn't pretentious and wrapped up in the idea of degrees. And he came to the marriage with no debt and a marketable skill, something that has benefited our family in huge ways. She says that she has seen debt sink many of their friends, and that she would support their children if they wanted to pursue a trade like their father. And so it also gave another example of a woman, a family, right? A husband and a wife. And she was talking with a friend, and she told the friend that her child was going to be going to a vocational school. And the friend said, "Oh, is he having behavioral issues at school?" So think about that. Having a conversation, "Oh, he's just going to do this trade. He's going to learn how to do carpentry work, woodwork, plumbing. Oh, does he have a behavioral issue at school? Is there something going on?" So just that preconceived notion that a lot of those jobs have, unfortunately. Even Festus mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. Let's not talk about trade jobs as far as what they make an hour, right? Because that's the first thing. That's the first thing that people like to say is they'll say, "Oh, how much do you make an hour?" They don't do that with teachers. They don't do that with accountants. How much you make an hour, right? So just changing what's that word?
The narrative.
The narrative, changing the stigma that comes with a lot of these jobs there, man.
That's a huge part. Just the stigma aspect, I think, is, and I hate to say that, but this is why I'm learning how people, they talk about self-esteem, right? You should not get your self-esteem from other people. You know what I mean? And, that being said, kind of, like I said, we're about to jump on Crawford's dad. It's like his view of himself, thinking I'm less than, skewed the way he looked at, his son, skewing the way he then taught you about like what you can do to be successful. And to me, at least that's the way it sounds like. I never met the man, so I don't want to, what I'm saying? But that's what it sounds like. It sounds like, and it seems like a lot of people think you can't be successful without college. Now, I want to talk and pivot. Well, let's hear from Daniel real quick, but I want to pivot to be a little bit more solution oriented, because I don't want us to be like us.
A rat fast, can't be ratting. Yeah, for sure.
Y'all boys are wild. And them boys said we're gonna focus on his pops. No, but what you're saying is real, man. Because like my cousin, like I had 2 of them. They went to jail, right? They got out. One got their truck driver's license. he might go pick up a load and make $1,500 just off that load. And I'm like, this dude. Then my other one was kind of like what Crawford said. This dude goes somewhere, they paying him $110 an hour just to fix something with the electrician. Then I don't know if you remember my other homeboy, he come over and fix my AC. Praise God, I got somebody fix AC for the low. This dude, I went on a job with him, this job, and he was teaching me how to do this stuff. Like he actually want to show people. Like I was like, okay, this is how you do it. We was up on that, what's some smoke shops called? Vape City? Is that what it's called? Vape City right up? Bro, he done started on business going, this dude, if he fixed anything or not, they have to, just for him showing up, they have a deal where they got to pay him $250. We didn't fix it. I think 2 shops we put up, he just talked to dude, said, okay, I'll be back like next week. But they still pay him $250. I was like, bro, we was there 30 minutes, bro. He said, yeah, I know.
I can do that. Watch.
Man, right? I was climbing
we'll
stuff, learning stuff, bro. I'm thinking, man, this dude teaching me a skill. But at the same time, you have to be willing to learn it. Because there are some people, we talked about people not sharing, but there are some people who don't want to learn the skill, even though people are trying to give them the skill. Like us as teachers, we try to give them skill. Like I talked to kids one time about money. One of them took it and ran with it, bro. We was at an event, we was on a thing, and he was trying to sell candy, and I was like, bro, you can't buy it for $1 and sell it for $1, bro. That's not how you do it. It's like you gotta buy the whole pack and you can sell. It was like he had a pack of like 50, and I was like, all right, how much you pay for it? He was like, man, like 25 cents. I said, all right, look, no, he paid for like $4. I said, all right, bro, here's what you do. You're gonna charge like a quarter, 50 cents per cube, which I probably shouldn't tell him, but you know what I'm saying? I was happy to see him do it. Charles, Charles. So, man, if this boy didn't sell out, and now his mind is focused on selling, but he took it and ran with it. Other ones be like, no, I'm good. Kind of like that one time me and Crawford was trying to give this young man some knowledge one time, and he wouldn't even take it. Even though he was asking for help, he wouldn't even take it. So we gotta also think there's some people out there, and which y'all giving free stuff every Sunday, man. People be like, oh, I need help. Then we tell them about it, but they don't come. So, but then the other people, which I'll just say white people, they'll come. They'll take the information. They'll ask for information. So we can't always say our people don't always share it. There's some of us that share it. We just don't accept it.
Well, and that again, it goes to self-esteem. And I think that's a great point. Is a lot of times around this topic of what do you do after high school, college, trade school, community college, a lot of the decision-making isn't actually based on facts or data. It's actually emotionally driven based off of self-esteem, prestige, perceptions, you know what I'm saying? And so we don't have that conversation enough to really educate people on like, okay, the reason why you're doing this decision, which is going to change the trajectory of your whole entire life, is based off of your self-esteem. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of parents now who, unfortunately, because they're not really doing the work, they're pushing their kid to go to college and they're co-signing on that loan, right? They're co-signing on that loan. So when you co-sign on that student loan, as long as your child has that student loan, that's your credit that's being affected. You know what I mean? And so, we really have to move past just looking at things from a self-esteem, emotional perspective and really look at it from a holistic perspective. What does this mean for my self-esteem? What does this mean financially? What does this mean socially, right? Because part of going to college is trying to change your social circle. And I know there's hundreds, if not thousands of people who aren't happy or blessed at the fact that they went to a college to change that social circle. But the thing is, I want to try to implore everybody. I know, Olay, you got something else you want to tack on. I can definitely see it.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad. Parents, prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show, because you know it's some good topics.
I want to implore everybody, college might not be for everybody, but education is. And find out the education that you need for what you want to do, for what you're passionate about.
Well, absolutely. You know, we always talk about being lifelong learners and just the importance of that. You know, if you want to hear a kick, just listen to Festus break down the word education and what it really means. But you were on the idea of solutions. And one of the things that I thought of, and we've kind of hinted at it, we've talked about it being done well, and we've talked about it being done not so well. When it comes to solutions in regards to parents, do parents need to really take a hard look at themselves and what they've been through and have a really good understanding of where they are in their generation and what the kids are dealing with, and learn how to give them advice for where they are? Because I feel like that's one of the biggest issues that happens to parents of every generation. They use what they did, right? And not to say that you can't use principles in every generation and they won't work. They will. But because of different backgrounds, because of different cultures, because of, like we've all said, lack of knowledge, there are some really important things that parents are missing to give their kids, and those things kind of hamper them. So do parents really have to take a step back in a sense and just look at perspectives on both sides and say, okay, what is best for my child? What skills does my child have? Instead of me saying, if you live in this house, you will be an engineer. How, right? Do parents need to take that step back?
So 100%, and that's one of the things in our parent ebook, right? That we talk about so much is if again, we're gonna drop this on you. If you see this on our YouTube channel, if you see it, we'll post the link to the parent ebook or the parent page of the website here as well. Yes, that's why we start the parent ebook with the conversation, because getting an education is a journey, right? It's a multi-stage, multi-year journey, right? Because even if you're being a plumber, you got to be a journeyman. You got to learn under somebody. If you're being an AC tech, you still got to go to trade school, and it might be just a couple of weeks, which I think that's a great option, right? Is go learn a little bit about ACs. But, oh man, let me tell a story because stories are amazing. So one of the real reasons why I started getting in the business was I got a scholarship from a guy named Frank Welch. And so this back in the day, I'm at HCU, shout out Huskies. And I would just go up there once like every 2 weeks to the scholarship department, you know what I mean? Or I call it the scholarship department, but the financial aid department, because I was looking for scholarships. And they used to have this big, thick book of all the scholarships available. And so I would just go up there like almost every 2 weeks, and I would just flip through seeing what's available. And so, they have these local scholarships. So one of them was write an essay on small business. And it was like 500 words or 1,000 words, something like that. I'm like, shoot, I can do this. Cool. So I'm, write my essay. Turns out I win the scholarship. So the guy's like, hey, come up here. Let's take a picture together. I'm going to give you the check. So I meet him at Starbucks, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to give you this check. We'll take a picture together, da. And so he just starts talking to me, and I'm like, what business do you do? Like, why would you do this? And so he says, listen, yeah, I wanted to advertise in the newspaper. But if I went to the newspaper and I said, hey, I need advertising space, they're going to charge me X amount of dollars. He said, but if I said, hey, I'm posting about a scholarship that somebody won. That's local news. They'll put it in for free. So he said, I would much rather give you the $500 than give it to them. At least you're going to use it for something, you know. He's like, they're going to waste it. So then he starts explaining business to me. Now, at this time, I'm in my mid to late 20s, and Frank Welch is an older white gentleman, and he just starts giving me the game, talking about business, small business, and he's telling me about his business, and I'm like, well, what is your business? He's like, well, one of my businesses is he'd help people collect child support or something like that, or something about child support or something. No, he would help get people off of child support or something like that. I don't know what he did. He would hire a private eye, show that the person's not doing their job, and then they get you off child support somehow, right? So it's like just really interesting stuff. But he wouldn't do any of the work. He just knew how to do it. So then he was like, somebody countersued him, and he was like, yeah, but they couldn't get to my house. You know, they have to actually serve me the papers. And he was like, well, they couldn't get to my house because I'm in a gated community. But they would call the gate like, yo, I should be like, nah, don't let him in. But long story short, as he started to share with me about business, he told me about how he opened an appliance repair business, which was why he was giving the scholarship away. And in this appliance repair business, he didn't know how to fix any appliances. And so what stuck with me was when he told me that he was in business for about a month and made $6,000 in that month. And I was like, wow, $6,000 sounds like a lot of money, you know? And I was like, well, how many washers did you fix? He was like, maybe 6. And I was like, wait a second. You worked 6 times in a month, only 6 times, and you made $6 grand, you know what I'm saying? He was like, yeah, something like that. My mind was blown. I need to learn this business. And so long story short, again, shout out to Frank Welch and what he's done, which again, just these genius ideas of helping people and understanding how to get business started and thinking outside the box, because he did have a degree. And he would tell me, he'd like, yeah, finish school. But at the same time, when I went to school, I could pay for my summer job. You can't do that. So he was like, you know, you gotta figure out, which again, this is one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing today, was because of his encouragement. He said, hey, listen, you're doing a great thing. People need to hear this. So keep going with it. And getting his stamp of approval said, hey man, we're gonna do this LYS thing, even though I didn't know what it was gonna be back then. So shout out to Frank Welch. I'm done. I'll shut up.
No, that's awesome. I remember that story about him and how he kind of gave you the foundation, man. That's essentially what it's all about. I mean, yeah, there's just so much knowledge out there. And I really think about just young folks. I'm like, this year, instead of getting ready for STAR as much as we did, air quotes, you know, I'm like, I wish sometimes we could have just took them outside and showed them how to dig up for some pipes or something, how to do some irrigation work, or, you know, how to get their hands dirty doing something along those lines. But that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about these solutions. Most definitely. Folks, any last comments? I think that's a good place for us to stop. Any last comments? Any questions, comments, concerns you want to drop in? No? All right. Wonderful. Well, this has been another episode of Edu-Steps. My name is Olay Shoranki. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon, this evening, this morning, this midday, wherever and whenever you are listening to this. We thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for being with us. And we will see you next week. Festus, go ahead and hit him with that close.
So listen, like we always say, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. Definitely going to do a part 2 of this. We're going to hopefully see you there, okay? Check you out next week.
Y'all be blessed now. Peace. Oh, you still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS Podcast.